Hello and welcome to my October reading wrap-up. I read 17 books in the month of October, which I'm super happy about. 9 of them were for Shardathon, 5 of them were for my reading challenge. So I have vlogged the experience of reading all 14 of those books. So there are only 3 books that I haven't spoken about properly on my channel, so I'll talk about those in this video. But if you want to hear my thoughts about either the Shardathon books or the reading challenge horror books, then I will link the Shardathon playlist and the reading challenge vlog down in the description bar, and you can go and watch those for my full thoughts on all of those books, and I'll tell you as they come up which vlog they're in. And then I will just tell you about the other 3. So the very first book that I read in the month of October was Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender, and this is one of the books that I didn't read for any of my vlogs, and you've probably heard of this book by now, but it follows Felix, who is trans, and he attends an art college and he has a best friend, and he's dealing with being a teenager and being a trans teenager, but then there's a complication because someone has very publicly and very brutally outed him as trans and revealed his dead name, which is of course extremely upsetting for Felix and also a horrendous thing to happen to anyone. I really enjoyed this read. Felix was a really interesting character, and there were lots of different relationships throughout the book which portrayed different kinds of reactions to Felix being trans, as well as his own relationship with himself and his sexuality and his gender identity. And there was lots of really great exploration. Of course, it is an Own Voices novel, which is really the only way to read about a trans main character, and it definitely gave me a lot of insight into the mental state of somebody who is dealing with being a teenager and having to also try to identify who they are, not just on a personality level but also on a sexuality and gender identity level. I didn't really start to think about my sexuality until much later in my life, but Felix has a very clear knowledge from a very early age that he is not cis or straight. So it was a really enjoyable book. I highly recommend it. You don't need me to tell you that. There are tons of people who are recommending this book. I'm just joining that very long list. The next book I read was House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This was a book that I read for my horror reading challenge, so full thoughts, you can go ahead and watch that video. But in summary, I really enjoyed it. Next, I read The Giver by Lois Lowry. This is a book that I read for Shardathon, and you can hear my thoughts about this one in my very first Shardathon vlog, and I did also watch the adaptation, so if you're interested in my thoughts on that, then you can also watch that vlog. This was actually a really interesting read. It's been on my TBR for a while. I really enjoy dystopians, and this one did not disappoint. Then I read An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, which is also a fantasy that I read for Shardathon in the first of my Shardathon vlogs, and again, really enjoyed this one. And then the final book that I read in that first Shardathon vlog, I believe, was The Wicker King by Kay Enkram. This is actually a contemporary story that also deals with heavy mental health themes. Really check out the trigger warnings before you think about picking this one up, because it is quite dark, and there are a few of us in the Thoughtful Book Club that were triggered by this one. This was the Thoughtful Book Club pick for October, but I did still enjoy it, and again, you can hear my full thoughts on it in that vlog. Moving on to my second Shardathon vlog, the next book that I finished in October was Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, which is epic fantasy book 2 in the Stormlight Archive. I'm currently rereading this series and loving it. No one's shocked by that. I haven't even really put full thoughts in that vlog because I've read it. This is my 3rd time reading through the series, so. And then I also read The 11th Metal, which was the group book for Shardathon. After that, I read On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, and I did talk about this one in that second Shardathon vlog. This is a contemporary story about Brie, who wants to be a rapper but is facing quite a lot of challenges in following that dream, and I didn't love this as much as The Hate U Give, but I did still really enjoy this one. Then the next book that I read for my reading challenge vlog was The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. This is a middle grade horror, and again you can watch that reading challenge which went up on Halloween night for my thoughts on this one. Back to Shardathon reads again, we have Fortuna Sworn by K.J. Sutton, which again you can hear my thoughts on in my second Shardathon vlog. I didn't love this as much as I expected to, but if you want something slightly dark with a fae theme, then this is definitely one to give a go. Then the next book that I didn't read for either Shardathon or my reading challenge was This Time Will Be Different by Misa Sugira. This is a contemporary story that follows CJ, who works in her family's flower shop, and this flower shop has been in the family for decades, apart from a short period of time during and following World War II, because CJ and her family are Japanese, and so they were unfortunately sent to internment camps, and when that happened they had to sell the family's flower shop to another family called the McAllisters, and ever since then there's been this family feud between CJ's family and the McAllisters, because it then took her family years and years to be able to purchase the flower shop back, and now it's struggling and might be being sold to the McAllisters again. There's lots of discussion on race and race inequality within this story, but also it's a very atmospheric book with potentially speculative or magical realism type elements. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I read it in one day, in one sitting. It was beautiful, and I found it really fascinating with some of the historical references. I enjoyed CJ as a character. I really enjoyed the plot. I found it very engaging. There were lots of relationships in here that I found very interesting and that I was really involved with. So I highly recommend this one. It was great. Then turning back to Shardathon and moving on to Shardathon vlog number 3, I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is of course the prequel to the Hunger Games. I felt pretty average about this one, but that's kind of how I expected to feel, to be honest. And again, you can hear my full thoughts in that vlog. And then I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This was one of my reading challenge reads. This is a very short book and I did really enjoy it. I found it very emotional and I did shed a tear or two. And then finally for Shardathon, and again this is part of Shardathon vlog number 3, I read The Invisible Life of Adi LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I read this in just over 24 hours, I think, because, you know, sleeping, and really enjoyed it. Full thoughts in that vlog. And then the final book that wasn't part of any of the vlogs that I've done this last month was Back into Arcanum Unbounded. This time I read Edge Dancer, which is the short story between books 2 and 3 of the Stormlight Archive, which follows Lift. I'm not going to say any more about the plot other than that because of course massive spoilers for Stormlight books 1 and 2. This is only my second time reading this short story, while I've read the 3 main books 3 times each, or I will have once I finished Oathbringer. This one was only my second time reading, but I really enjoyed it. I really like Lift as a character. I find her really funny and quirky, but in a good way, and her relationship with Wendell is really interesting, and she's so much more moral than she would have anyone believe. So I really enjoy following her story, and Sanderson mentions in the author's note at the end of this short story that there are a few things that happen in here that are contextually really important for book 3, and because I hadn't read it for a while, I knew what had happened in it, but I didn't remember the details, and I can totally see why it's so important. So I'm really glad that I chose to reread it this time. And then penultimately, I read Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, which I also read for my horror reading challenge, and I did not like this one. You'll have to watch that vlog to find out why. And finally, I read volume 1 of Uzumaki by Junji Ito, which is a horror manga, so I also read it in that horror reading challenge, and surprisingly I kind of enjoyed myself. So again, for full thoughts you'll have to watch that. So sorry I've been directing you to so many different places during this video, but I just don't want to bore you because I know that a lot of you do watch most of my videos and I don't want to repeat myself. So if you haven't watched those videos and you do want to, then again, they'll all be linked down in the description box and you can go and watch them. There are pictures of the books for each of the Shardathon vlogs, so you'll be able to see at a glance which books you're going to be hearing about in that particular video. And I really had a good time reading this month. I really enjoyed Shardathon. I was so happy with how it went. I just want to give another massive thank you to everybody who participated. There will be some information coming your way about Shardathon round 2, and that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.